was interesting. Very little that has much relevance to Canada. I think Canadians, if we're talking about a grown-up nation, I think we should grow up and get over our ridiculous insecurity about the United States. Come on. They're just our neighbor. They're not going to invade us. And the Queen isn't standing at our border threatening Americans not to invade us. What's she going to do? Sick her corgis on us or something? I don't know. Look, Canada is independent. What this is about is acting like it. On a world stage, Canada is perceived as independent. Ask any immigrant who comes here and has to become a Canadian citizen, the first thing they learn is, I've got to declare allegiance to the Queen, not just the Queen, but all of her descendants to the end of time. That's what it means when you become a Canadian. Australia reformed their Citizenship Act in 1991, eliminated the reference to the Queen. Now new Australians affirm an oath to Australia and its laws. It didn't affect them as insofar as their constitutional status. They're still a monarchy. So in that respect, it's not that terribly relevant, but what it does mean is that they are evolving, we're standing still. In 1982, we stopped caring about Canada's evolution. We thought, this is the end of the story. We've got our Constitution back, there's nothing else to do. Nothing could be worse. Nothing could be further from the truth. Now, as far as the United States as a threat, when Ireland became a republic, nobody said they're going to become more American. Mexico is a republic. Nobody says we're more like Americans because we don't have a queen or a king. Again, it goes back to this insecurity, where we've got to grow up. We've got to get rid of this insecurity and say to ourselves, look, if we're independent, let's grow up and act like it. Lastly, I want to touch on our democratic evolution. Neil mentions the 1837 rebellion and the Magna Carta. If you go back in history and look at every advancement in democracy in the British parliamentary system, every single one of them are Republican initiatives, without exception. We have democracy in Canada, but it's fighting tooth and nail against every monarch that's been our head of state. They haven't willfully given us our democracy. We fought for it in Canada and in Britain and in other Commonwealth countries. And a lot of blood was shed to get the democracy we had. We had to take it from the monarchs. Now we have a situation where we have a non-functional monarchy. It's a symbolic presence that has no constitutional relevance in Canada other than cultural. If you look at who runs the office of the Queen, it's the Ministry of Heritage and Culture. Every grown-up country that's got its own distinct head of state has a separate office for their head of state. Ours is run by Culture and Heritage. No one has been able to explain to me how our heritage and culture will be negatively affected if we have our own distinct head of state. And lastly, priorities. I think Canada knows how to chew gum and walk at the same time. We've done it. There were lots of priorities, lots of things that were more important than Canadian citizenship. In 1947, we were British subjects. We decided that we didn't want that anymore. We wanted to be Canadian citizens. There were lots of more important things to do, but we did that. In the 1960s, there were lots of things more important than having our own distinct flag. A lot of monarchists said, no, get rid of the Union Jack and we'll become Americans. Didn't happen. Lastly, our Constitution is about as Republican as you can get. Look at our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It categorically states that Canadians are citizens. We're not subjects, we're citizens. So the very democratic and cultural makeup of Canada today defies what our monarchy is all about. Everything that Neil says that he likes about the still be retained if we have our own distinct head of state. The Queen still comes to visit. Nobody's talking about rewriting our history books. We could still have a Victoria Day, despite the fact that the Queen never visited Canada. And in her diary on July 1st, as I mentioned earlier, July 1st, 1867, Queen Victoria never even mentioned Canada's birthday in her diary. Yet, we have a special day for her. So be it. Has nothing to do with the function of our government. We can do this, it can be done, and if I have time later on, I have evidence that it is happening.